When Earthworm Jim was originally released for the Mega Drive in 1994, it was considered a niche game even by 1990s standards. In the years and decades since its release, opinions on Earthworm Jim have been a pivotal decision or even debate within the video game industry, from developers to critics and even players who experienced the original franchise when released. But the speculative scenario is this: the underrated and little-known Earthworm Jim series of the mid-1990s. Earthworm Jim, in particular the original game from 1994, was intentionally meant to be a caricature of various other intellectual properties that were considered popular throughout the late 1980s to early 1990s. Each level had its own theme and plot reasoning, so although there was a vaguely coherent premise interlocking each stage, to casual gamers of the time it was just that of a random platforming game that wasn't meant to be taken too seriously. At the time, critics or even gamers considered the very character of Earthworm Jim to be extreme, even by 1990s standards, for imitating existing characters or prior games. The utter randomness of the video game culminated with temporary interest in the character through a cartoon series of 2 seasons. This series barely lasted more than a year, from the 9th of September 1995 through the 13th of December 1996. The first season was much of an adaptation of the original game as possible. Episodes were made of singular plot-based summaries for viewers, without much real emphasis on continuity aside from the characters depicted within these episodes. The first season used cold openings due to the quirkiness of the episodes as mentioned, but this was also implemented to keep casual interest with viewers who might not have necessarily played the video game but was curious enough to have seen the cartoon. It was hoped that by giving such an opening into the series and each episode, that casual audiences would become more loyal viewers of the cartoon with an easier understanding of the video game based adaptation. The second season of the series adopted a more conventional lore and story based concept for the show, and everything became more interconnected for a more coherent and understandable interpretation of Earthworm Jim. Due to the original video game being so random, there had to be some aspect of originality for the cartoon. Customized characters from these series, such as Evil Jim and Evil the Cat's servant Henchrat, later made an appearance in the Earthworm Menace to the Galaxy for the Game Boy Color. But from information now known, interest in this series was affected due to the circumstances of Earthworm Jim 2, as while it was considered a game reacted to favorably by critics and gamers of the time, the intellectual property of Earthworm Jim became complicated, and all aspects of Earthworm Jim were halted due to legalities. In the years and decades since the original game's release and adaptation, the view of Earthworm Jim now is a divisive issue within the video game community.